Well, a good day to you. Welcome. It is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you on EWTN Radio. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani. We have the show team today. Our producer is Charles Beery. Michael McCall is on social media. Matt Gabensky hopefully is going to screen your call and many others as we introduce our topic for you today. Hello, Debbie. How you doing?
Hello, Jerry. And this is a very interesting topic. It's a very deep one, and we know we want to respect your privacy. So if you need to use your confirmation name, please do so. We don't want you to out anybody on air, but we can learn and grow together and maybe get a fresh start on a couple things. So are you married but living like singles? Are you married but you feel like you're living like two ships passing in the night, like singles? You're not really fully share that marital experience and bond, and it can be a tough thing. It's a very lonely type of existence to be in a marriage and feeling like you're a single person. So if that's your situation, or you've had that situation in the past, or you know of somebody in that situation, please call us and let's explore this together, because it is a problem. It's very rampant, and we would like to maybe suggest some ideas to begin to really understand the sacrament of matrimony. The number to dial is 833-288-3986. I hope I set that up correctly, Jerry.
You did, yeah. Well, this could work for some people. Maybe you found that kind of doing your own thing as spouses is what helps to keep you together. Maybe it works for you. But typically, like Debbie did set it up, maybe it's not a comfortable situation for you. But we would love to have your experience, your wisdom, your insights, your lived experiences on this topic today. Are you married, but you kind of feel like each of you and your spouse are sort of going your own way, living like singles? 833-288 EWTN is the number, 833-288-3986. We can take your emails also at take2@ewtn.com. You can post on the show website, take2show.com. And we, of course, I'm waving to you watching the video stream on YouTube and Facebook, EWTN's channels there. You can post your comments. Michael McCall will get some of those over to us here on the program. But we need your participation because it is your show. We really, truly mean that. A lot of shows count on their listeners to call in and make the show what it is, but it's especially true, I think, Debbie, with this show. So we're looking forward to a lot of participation.
Yeah, so we're talking about the ups and downs, the twists and turns of marriage, and one of them can be that you're married but you're living like a single person. We'd like to hear from you about this situation. Again, you can use your confirmation name, please. If you're listening right now, we consider you part of the Take Two family, so we do need you to call in. You do see Jerry on video; he's waving to you, and that's wonderful. I understand the video looks fabulous today. I am not on video because I'm still under the weather, so I can't seem to shake this thing. So I need a little extra prayers. So I understand it's a lingering type of seasonal thing, and so I'm doing my best. But we need to hear from you. Please call in. Make your call, because you could help another marriage today. You can help another soul today, and that's what we're called to do by our baptism. So please pick up that phone if you feel prompted by the Spirit. You have something to say, a wisdom to share, something to impart, at 833-288-3986.
Yeah, I think I was the one who put this topic on the calendar. Well, I think
You
we've
did.
done this show before, actually, and it was a very impactful broadcast. And one of the reasons that I did that was even, my late sister, God rest her soul, she used to like to go places that her husband really didn't like to go. So, like, she would go on vacation by herself. They'd go together a lot of places as well. So it just got me thinking, does that work for couples? If they sort of each kind of do their own thing once in a while. It definitely seemed to work okay for my sister and her husband. But maybe for you, Take Two family, as you're listening right now, maybe it's not so pleasant, or maybe it's a cause of heartache for you, that you don't feel maybe as united to your spouse as you would like to be. Maybe you kind of do things that he or she doesn't care to do or doesn't want to do or doesn't join you in doing. So we can talk about that. Here's the calls now are starting to come in. That is a good sign that you have something to share. And as Debbie alluded to the fact that you could really help other people with your lived experience on this program. We say it all the time, but the Take Two family is a family. We are a teaching family, an edifying family, a learning family. So if you have something to weigh in on this conversation, please do it today. This is your opportunity to maybe turn a life around. 833-288-3986.
And Jerry, you mentioned something that was really important about if it works for you. And that's interesting how you said that. And I agree with you, because in life coaching, we hear that all the time. Is this working for you? Is this meeting your needs? And is it producing a very good, wholesome, healthy relationship? And that's very true. You can get independent people that get married, and they make it work, and they make it work beautifully. They have an understanding. They have a respect. They have a healthy relationship. That's true. But then there's also the relationships where one spouse kind of checks out emotionally and leaves the other spouse trying to figure out, well, how do I do this? How do I survive? How do I feel? They call it, fill that love tank, if you will. How do I do that? How do I make myself feel loved and appreciated and whole? And it's a very difficult situation. A lot of people deal with it. And so we really want to hear from you, because if this is your situation, maybe you could impart some tools and tips and the ability to survive and thrive. Very important. There goes all the phone lines. Now we just have a couple left. That's it. 833-288-3986. I hope I was making sense with that. I don't want it to sound confusing to people, but you know where I'm going with it, Jerry. Yeah. It can be a difficult situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it could cause a lot of, heartache and pain, like we mentioned a moment ago. So this is going to be an impactful conversation. Only a couple of lines are still open, and we would really, I just really want to encourage you to call in, even if you haven't quite totally formulated your take in your mind right now. You'll have a few minutes to wait on hold, but if you want to do it, grab one of those open phone lines right now at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. If you've just joined us, maybe for the very first time, we have first-time listeners all the time. We have a lot of first-time callers on the program. Our topic today is, are you married, but does it seem like you're living like singles within your marriage, kind of doing your own thing, he or she does their own thing? How does that work for you? Does it work, or is that maybe a point of contention? 833-288-3986. We'll be right back to get to Rose and Buffalo and the rest of you.
Each weekday, we'll dive into the timeless teachings of our Catholic faith, drawing upon the wisdom of the ages to navigate the challenges of today. Together, we'll seek truth, find inspiration, and forge a deeper connection with God. I'm Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers, and I invite you to join me for Beacon of Truth, today at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Pray for the protection of unborn children with a free pro-life prayer ebook to help guide you in prayer, to change the hearts of those who compromise the call to protect and defend life. Get your free ebook today at EWTN.com/profile.
EWTN Radio is seeking a dynamic radio producer to join the EWTN radio team in Irondale, Alabama. The right candidate will be a passionate, multi-skilled, talented professional who can manage and direct all aspects of producing world-class programming and play an integral part in Mother Angelica's mission. If this is you or someone you know, email a resume and cover letter, including salary requirements, to Human Resources at EWTN.com.
Join EWTN Radio for Lenten Reflections, featuring priests of the Personal Ordinariate of Our Lady of Walsingham in England, Sunday morning at 6 Eastern and Sunday evening at 11:30 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Okay, we're asking the question today, are you married but living like a single person? We'd like to talk to you. And the phone lines have all lit up. That's great, but keep calling. We have a back waiting area at 833-288-3986. Rose, hang on just a little longer. I just wanted to share with our listeners this wonderful featured product here for all of us. Okay, St. Joseph and the Infant Jesus Diptych. Perfect for the month of St. Joseph is this beautiful glossy wood arched diptych featuring a 19th century image of St. Joseph and the infant Jesus on the left. On the right side is the prayer that reads, Glorious Patriarch St. Joseph, whose power makes the impossible possible. Come to my aid in these times of anguish and difficulty. Take under your protection the serious and troubling situations that I commend to you, that they may have a happy outcome. And the prayer continues on. It's absolutely beautiful. What you want to do is get this diptych. Why do I say that? Because it is in the month of March for St. Joseph. It is very powerful. Anytime we can add these, make sure you have it blessed too, these sacramentals and devotions with the prayers attached, it just makes it that much more effective in our spiritual life. And this is all available right now at EWTNRC.com, at free standard shipping for online orders, $75 or more. This is for the continental U.S. only. Use code FREE at checkout. I stopped right there, Jerry, because I was about ready to sneeze, but because I'm still under the weather. But I just wanted to say, you know how I feel about St. Joseph for March 19th, especially for St. Joseph's Day. It's a very powerful day. And remember when we did the consecration to St. Joseph, you know, how that really was a spiritual game changer for all of us, you, me, and Marty. We did it together. And I just wanted to just kind of highlight that for our listeners, that if there are St. Joseph's items and devotionals, that people should really look into it.
Absolutely. All right. Who wants that last open phone line? 833-288-3986. Our topic today, married but living like singles. As promised, Rose in Buffalo, listening on the Station of the Cross, is up first. Rose, thanks for your patience. Welcome to our broadcast. Hello, Rose. Are you there? Oh, Rose, we promised we'd go to you first, and we did. We will have Matt check back in with Rose there in Buffalo, so if we can put Rose on hold. We will get over to Marguerite in Fort Worth, Texas, listening today on the Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Marguerite. Welcome.
Hi. Glad to be able to speak with you.
Likewise.
Yes. We've been married. My husband and I have been married over 40 years, raised 5 children, but it's been a struggle because I married somebody like my dad. And listening to, and he just won't be vulnerable with me emotionally, but he's a very happy, outgoing guy. So I finally realized we're in our 60s, and no matter what I've tried over the years, he's just not going to change. And I need to be happy in these final years because, you know, a lot of people die after age 68. Mm-hmm. So I might not have many years left with him. So and he's very happy for me to do things independently. So he doesn't mind if I want to go see a show by myself or travel by myself. He's very supportive. He's very happy for me. Or if I plan something, many times I finally, after 30 years, I started saying, I'm going to plan a trip to do such and such. And you are more than welcome to join me. But if you don't, I'm still going. And he was happy with that, and most of the time he will join me.
Wow. Okay, so I have a couple things I just want. What you said is golden, because in life coaching we talk all about this when we do couples coaching. I think it's beautiful what you said, that he may not always come to the things you invite him to, but he's happy. He's supportive of what you're doing. So that's important. That means you have an arrangement, that you have an agreement, that you can do things independently. You support each other. But when he wants to come to things, when you want to go to things, that's great. That just adds the bow and ribbon to things. So that's wonderful. It sounds like you have made it work based on your personalities and based on your needs and desires. That's fabulous, Marguerite. And that's what we always tell people when we're doing coaching is you got to get to some kind of agreement on where you're at with your needs and your wants and your desires. Now, it may not be the most, perfect Hollywood romance situation. We get that, but really there's not that kind of relationship anyway. It really doesn't exist like that. But if you can make it work and it's driving your spiritual growth closer to heaven, then I say it's a home run. What do you say, Jerry?
Well, I agree with everything that you said. And Marguerite, if you were listening right at the early segment of the program, I did mention my late sister and her husband. And what you described is really pretty much like that. They just had, some different interests. They had a wonderful marriage, loving marriage, a great understanding between the two of them. They trusted each other to kind of do their own things. They did a lot of things together, but it really does remind me of my brother-in-law Larry and my late sister Mary, and it's a very similar situation. So it sounds like, Marguerite, that you're probably overall in a pretty good place. It would sound like.
Yeah, I'm happy. Many years ago, I took a trip with a girlfriend for I think it was one night, maybe 2 nights. And when we returned to her house, her husband was so insecure and jealous, he wouldn't say a word to her. Mm-hmm. I was in shock, and I thought, wow, I'm so glad my husband's not like that he's happy that I'm off and having fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. So you made it work, and that's beautiful, and way to go. And I love how you said, we don't know how much time we have left, and so we really have to make the most of every day, every moment, and really everything we do, we're either getting closer to God or we're drifting away. And sounds like you're driving towards God. I love that. Way to go. Thank you for being first up here on Take Two. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank
Marguerite.
You. Yeah,
and
no, I agree. I mean, I think she nailed it.
Well, and I think from the way she described it, communication is very important here. And sounds like very good, honest, frank discussions that they have about these things, which is, I think, going to be very helpful to making that work. So, all right, Rose is back from Buffalo, listening on the Station of the Cross. Rose, we are happy that you called back in. Welcome.
Hi, I'm
Hi,
sorry.
Rose.
I don't know how we got disconnected, but I want to thank you for having me on your show.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that I have a very good, loving husband who he goes about his things, and I go about mine. And we do start our day together in prayer, and we go to church together. He puts the kneeler down. He opens my door. He does all the things, helps me with my coat, my jacket, whatever. And he's there. If I'm sick, he's been there to take care of me, and I'll do the same, But it's like, wow. I don't know why people have such a hard time not accepting the fact that when you get older, you might not be doing all the same things. I go to exercise class. He plays cards. I do different things, and I call my sisters, and sometimes I do go down and visit, and my husband says, go ahead. That's what you want to do, go ahead. He doesn't stop me, and he can come if he'd like, but sometimes, I'll just stay home and take care of things around here. And it's like, okay, fine.
Well,
yeah,
Rose, let me ask you this question, because your situation sounds very similar to Marguerite's in the sense that you guys have this communication as the foundation. You understand each other, you know each other's personalities, and you have that level of trust for each other where you're not going to be like, Rose is going out with, her friends or doing her thing. I got to feel, uneasy about this. I don't know what she's doing. You have that level of trust, it sounds like. That is a wonderful thing. Did you guys work at that, or did you always have that level of trust?
I think we've always had that level of trust. I can't say that for my first marriage, but I can say that for my second. Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
Tragically, and his was because of, he had issues. His wife wasn't happy about him not always coming home because he was out with the the bottle. So anyway, but things since I've met him, we've had a wonderful life together. We've done things together. We've traveled together. But now it's okay. He's doing his thing, and I'm doing mine. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, and it just sounds to me, Rose, like your foundation, your home base is being united in the bond, the sacrament, the bond of marriage, and then from there you go out and you maybe do, because I think there have to be different interests and activities within a marriage, within any relationship for that matter. But the opposite of that would be people kind of who run off and do their own things, and then occasionally come together in the love of the marriage and communicate. But you are starting from that central united point, and going out and maybe having some different activities and interests from there. So I think that's very healthy, Rose. It sounds like to me anyway.
And we always try to get together for the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary, and I do my evening prayer, and he sits there and he reads his little book, and it's like, wow, this is remarkable. We have that kind of a relationship with God. We keep him in the center, I think, of our marriage, too.
That's
and that's important to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like Fulton Sheen said, right, Jerry?
Yep, 3 to get married, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, Rose. God bless you. Thanks for calling back in. Great contribution to our discussion today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. 833-288-3986 is the phone number if you'd like to grab that line that Rose was on, talking about being married but living as singles. Maybe it's a point of contention for you, or maybe it works, like our first couple of callers have said.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're hearing stories about how there has been a lot of communication, a lot of trust, a lot of understanding. Prayer is in there, understanding the bigger picture. We're trying to get to heaven, and that's wonderful. But we also, and Take Two, Jerry, we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So we want to hear from folks that are willing to share, the real raw truth of how emotionally hard it is on your heart to live as a single when you're in a couple relationship. It's difficult. I know we know that because we have a lot of clients that come to us and say, I'm really lonely. I'm lonely, but I'm married, and that's not a good thing. So we really want to hear from you. If you're willing to share something that could help other couples today, please call this number 833-288-3986.
All right, we're going to go to Mansfield, Ohio. Kay is listening on Sirius XM 130. Thanks for waiting, Kay. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
When I first heard what you guys were talking about, my husband has Alzheimer's, and unfortunately he's not able to live at home anymore. And so you're like in the twilight zone. And it's been about an hour drive. I'm on my way down to see him now. And you've got one foot in one area where you're married people, and you've got your other foot dipping your toe almost like you're a widower. And it's hard. It is very, very hard. And you don't hear many people talk about that. Like the other ladies, hey, everything's wonderful, everything's hunky-dory. But you still are married people, and that commitment that you make, those vows till death do you part, sickness and health and all the rest of that, is what we have always had. We'll be married 37 years here in May, but it's funny because I'm not single. I am married, but it's like you just feel very much alone because my husband doesn't have the cognitive capacity, but he can still hug me, which that means everything. And
thank God.
Put him in his bed if he's tired, and then I crawl in bed with him, and then we just cuddle. And then he usually falls asleep, and then I fall asleep because I'm tired. And sometimes when I bring the dog falls asleep. So, I just thought I would call in and share that with you because when I was listening to that, I thought our situation is not a choice.
Right.
Our situation was brought about because of a disease.
Right.
And those components are different than when you're like, I'm not happy, but I don't want a divorce, but I'll go run around and do this, or I'll run around and do that, or vice versa, or all that junk, what couples do. And as a marriage goes from being a marriage to being just something that you're cohabiting. And so I just thought I'd add my 2 cents for whatever it's worth.
Well,
so
Well, you got to keep that giggle, Kay, because you're going through a lot, and you're right. We don't discuss it enough because there's all different situations that are happening, especially with Alzheimer's, dementia, and things like that, age-related illnesses and things like that change the dynamics of the relationship, and it changes it. It like you said, it goes into this abyss or this limbo where you don't really know, how to proceed. You just do one day at a time until whatever happens when God calls that person home or when the situation ceases. But I will tell you, Kay, that I got to say this: the one beautiful thing you have is a long history with your husband. So you have beautiful, I'm sure, pictures and memories and things that you, like you said, and when those hugs come, it reminds you of those beautiful times. And I think that's one thing that I think God allows us to have in order to, so we can keep our sanity and peace. And I really thank God for that, because memories can, although they sometimes can be painful when you can't experience them again, having those memories can keep us remembering why we are doing what we're doing and keep the bigger picture in mind. What do you say to that, Jerry?
Well, I would just say, Kay, God bless you, because a lot of people, unfortunately, in this kind of disposable world that we live in, even think of spouses as disposable, and when tough times like this come along for them, they kind of check out and maybe leave. But you were staying there. You mentioned the wedding vows. That is so very important. You are honoring that, and God is going to honor you and bless you for that. I have no doubt about that. And we're going to pray for you. We've got you and your husband in our prayer book. You hear that music there. We're going to take a quick pause. But Kay, bless you. Thank you for weighing in on this conversation today. Very important call you just made. I'm sure it helped a lot of people. 833-288-3986. Karen, you are up next. We have Joe and Doris and Amy and an open line if you'd like to join us.
Now, a quote from Mother Angelica's perpetual calendar. Do you know what Christianity is? It's blood and guts. Christianity is someone that you're in love with. Jesus the Lord. And when you're in love with Jesus, you're going to love your wife more. You're going to love your husband more. You're going to love your children more. Because only the love of Jesus can make you love deeply, truly. Mother's perpetual calendar is available at EWTNRC.com.
As Lent progresses, we move closer and closer to Good Friday, where our Lord will suffer so much for us. One of the great themes of Lent that is announced on Ash Wednesday is that we are engaging in a battle, a spiritual battle. Here's the opening prayer for Lent in Ash Wednesday. Grant, O Lord, that we may begin with holy fasting this campaign of Christian service, that as we take up the battle against spiritual evils, we may be armed with weapons of self-restraint. And so you see these words, battle, weapons, armed, and even the idea of a campaign as in a military campaign. We're called each day to engage in a kind of a spiritual warfare, but to intensify that in Lent. Jesus says, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. This is the battle, to deny ourselves and to serve the Lord and others.
For daily Lenten reflections, Lenten schedule, and resources to make this Lent a most meaningful season, visit EWTN.com/Lent.
Listen to EWTN Radio day or night. Audio on Demand brings you your favorite EWTN programs instantly to you for free. Download the EWTN app today at EWTNapps.com.
Welcome to a journey of faith, wisdom, and understanding. I'm Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers. Join me for Beacon of Truth, today at 4 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio. Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're talking today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Are you married but living like singles? And we had a really very wonderful conversation with Kay. And Kay, you were traveling to see your husband who has Alzheimer's. You know, we kind of got clipped there by the break. And if you feel inclined, Kay, to shoot us an email, I would love to ask you more questions about the experience that you're going through, because I think that maybe we should dedicate a whole entire show to this topic. I really do. I feel strongly about it. I agree with you, Kay. We don't talk about this enough. So if you could drop us an email at take2@EWTN.com, that would really help us. Jerry, don't you agree that we're not, everybody's living, they have a lot on their plate with all these different circumstances that are happening, especially post-pandemic. Yeah. And I just feel like we're not discussing it enough. And if we could use this platform to help other marriages and other souls, get closer to God, closer to heaven, and have a bigger view of things, I think it would be a good use of airtime. What do you say?
I agree, and I do hope we do a show on that topic of one spouse being perhaps in an assisted living facility or something, the two still being married and one having to visit the other one. It's always been it's caused me pain in my heart to think about that, for a spouse having to go through that. So I thank Kay as well, and I really encourage you, Kay, to email us and hopefully we can do a show about that topic. Debbie, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we will go to Karen. Karen is a first-time caller, and Karen is in New York, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Karen. Welcome to the show. Hello, Karen.
Hello, Karen. Are you there?
Okay. We'll ask Matt to pick up the phone. Karen was waiting so patiently. Matt's picking it up real quickly, so we'll go to Jerry, if it's okay with you. Doris, from Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Doris.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Doris. Welcome.
Hello.
Yep.
Yes, this is Doris.
Yeah, hi. What would you like to share?
Yeah, I was just saying that I went through a marriage like that, and that like I say, I was born in from Guam, and he was a good husband over there, and good to the kids. But when we come to Texas, he changed. He ignored me and the kids, and he'll eat and go watch TV and go to bed. And that's it. That goes for 20 years. But I keep praying and praying. But I keep telling him if he's not happy with us, to go find somebody that make him happy. And he said he's happy, but you can tell on the person's face if he's really happy or not. But I still hang on. I went to church for 20 years by myself after the kids are grown. And but like I say, I keep praying and praying and asking God to help me. But it was lonely, so especially when the kids are gone.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's better. He's, I guess he got better when he had cancer, colon cancer. Then a little, but he still put the job and money first in his life than us.
Well, Doris, you mentioned, I think you said you were originally came from Guam to Texas, I believe, if I heard you correctly. And it sounded like you said it was almost kind of a sudden change in your husband's behavior. Were you able to sense anything that may have, caused that? I mean, it seems, just a move could do that for somebody, I guess, but in my mind anyway, it's not necessarily something that would trigger such a change in behavior. Were you able to kind of discern or point to anything that might have led to that change?
I don't know. I asked him what's wrong, what's going on. He said, he could say it's nothing. But I keep praying and, hoping that he'll realize what he's missing, but it's not. And he just, I don't know whether he's lying to me, but that's all he tells me is nothing. And he's happy. But, he can't, I tell him, I said, I see on your face that you're not happy. He said, well, what's with my face? I said, well, when you're happy, your face will be happy. But he doesn't. But like I say, I stayed and keep, and like I said, until after he had the colon cancer, and he got a little better, but he still put job and money first before me,
Yeah,
like
Yeah, that can be painful. When you just said that, I was actually gonna jump in and say, is there something that he's putting before you, and that's painful. And like you said, you can look at somebody's face. You live with that person. You can tell when they're happy, and especially if you see them change their demeanor with somebody else, right? And then there's that, and then you go, well, that's odd. Why can't they have that with me? But this is just my personal opinion, Doris. So take it, for what it's worth, and it's because it's my personal journey of 58 years of life and what I've seen in life coaching. I just think that stronger people get with God, the better off we are, because we can't. Yes, we're in these beautiful marriages that bring forth amazing families, and it's our sacrament of matrimony. But it can be, you're dealing with personalities. You're dealing with people's, what's going on in their own life. So the stronger we get to God, and we trust in God, and we focus on God, the better off we all will be, I think. Any agreement to that, Doris?
Yes, and I was going to tell you that he got better every year. That the colon cancer happened in 2012, and he had surgery, and he started getting better. He's a lot better now. He does help now around the house, and he's
That's
retired now, staying home while I work. But the main thing is he's still worried about money.
Sure.
And I keep
Well,
telling him.
yeah, but Doris, sometimes that can happen with people who have, whatever feeling they have as a fears when they were even children, or how they were raised or something. So they take that into the marriage, as you know, and money's a funny, difficult situation to navigate around. We see it all the time in coaching. But, with this cancer bout that he went through, sometimes those things are a wake-up call for people to realize that, life is fragile. God can call us home at any moment. We really need to make the most out of each and every breath we take here. And so that probably turned out to be a good thing in favor for you, Doris. And we want you to feel like your heart is full in your marriage. That's an important thing. So don't discount that, because but I will tell you that Jerry, tell me, as you're in priestly formation, so you could probably weigh in the best at this. In order to fill our love tank, if you will, our hearts, right? I mean, we fill them with God first. It's God first, and then there's so much to that I think sometimes we forget. We put a lot of effort into another person, and we put some effort into God. But when we fill it with God first, it's so much better to sustain our hearts. What do you say to that?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doris. Yeah.
Like I say, it's better now. Before, he didn't used to say he loves me. Now he does that, like in guilt. And this year we're going to be married 52 years.
Wow.
Like
Good deal. Good deal, Doris.
That is beautiful.
Keep strong. Keep the faith. I think you're, I think it's tough. Marriage can be tough. Let's face it.
But Doris, you've hung in there, and God, it sounds like God is, bringing your husband around to a better place in terms of just your unity and the love that you have between each other in your marriage. So we are so, edified to hear about that, and we'll just pray that continues. And Doris, will add you and your husband in our prayer book, and just be assured of the Take Two family around the world will be praying for the two of you. And again, we just hope and pray that God continues to bring about a very deep, as you go further. You mentioned 52 years of marriage. Well, hopefully you'll have several more after this, and they will just be bliss, that wedded bliss that, we all hear about and a lot of people long for. So, Doris, thank you for your call. Appreciate it.
for taking my call.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Doris. Thank you. Okay, Jerry, let's move to Joe, and Joe is in Northeast Florida on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Joe. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Joe.
Is everybody? Oh, yeah. What are we? But this is like happening all day today. This must be. You know what, Jerry? You know what? I bet you that the demons do not like this conversation, because we're trying to help marriages today. And have you noticed that every time we do marriage shows, this kind of thing happens?
Noise, and I apologize.
Hey, Joe.
Good.
Yeah. So what I was just going to do real quick is try to say there's a lot of things that drive couples apart. As a sadly 5 years divorced person, I'll tell you, one of them is dealing with issues from your toxic and trauma places, which all of us unfortunately have. Bringing that to the surface with your partner maybe and asking them to do the same and trying to not do that. The other thing is, it mentioned kind of with one of your callers that I hadn't mentioned, the call screener, is the empty nest thing. I think we both of us, my now legally ex-wife and I still consider her my wife, was living for the children. The children are going to go. You guys always give great advice about going out on dates or something. Find a common interest and spend time, at least, maybe not as much time, but if you spend an hour taking your kids to practice and then an hour to take them here and there and everywhere, take an hour or two each week to do something together. Go bird watching, go antiquing, go hunting, go driving around in a four-wheeler with him, whatever you guys can come up with that you like, so that when the kids are gone, you're not looking at each other like, I don't know you. I've lived here with you 20 years, and and you're a different person, or I barely know what you like, and you barely know me. And, those are the things that kind of tore my marriage down, and we tried hard. But we both came at it from a selfish perspective of I need my things, and I have my coping strategies, and this is what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. And one last thing that you guys emphasize, not so much in your program, but on the Catholic channel in EWTN, gently, kindly, but firmly, men need to be the leaders. And believe it or not, the modern-day woman doesn't know it, but she needs and wants a leader. She wants a man that's going to step up and say, I'm sorry, I know you don't necessarily agree with this. I feel like it's the best thing. And if nothing else, short of gambling the house mortgage on something crazy, let them, if the man's going to fail, let him fail. You might be surprised that he doesn't, or he might be surprised and say, I wish I hadn't done it that way, and I'm going to listen to your advice next time, That's really all I had to say.
Yeah. And Joe, and listen, we don't argue on this show. We really just have great conversations. But I just wanted to say, I think you're saying this, but I just want to make sure you're okay with this. I completely agree with you that men need to lead, but they need to lead from an understanding of a spiritual depth. If they don't have that spiritual depth, just to make decisions is not necessarily the best thing. And when you say it could, if they fail, let them fail. That doesn't necessarily serve anything. I really believe there needs to be a spiritual understanding of what it really means to be a leader in the home and in the marriage. And it has to come from a real deep prayer, discernment, and spiritual growth. Would you agree with that, Joe? It really's got to start. Your name is Joe, so I'm hoping you're going to say yes.
Well, I don't know why Joe would say yes, but yeah.
Saint Joseph. Saint Joseph, I meant. Go ahead.
I see. Okay, yeah. Well, in the name of Saint Joseph, I do say yes, but I absolutely agree.
What is called the love call.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, what do you think about that, Jerry? I just wanted to make sure that, because one of the things that we deal with life coaching, and Jerry, you know this because we do it all the time, is that you will get some men that try to force their leadership role in the home, but they don't have that spiritual understanding of what it really means to be the head of the household. And that can be very abusive, actually, to be honest with you, and abrasive and just flat out wrong. So you have to be really careful when you say, I want to be the leader. The leader comes with a lot of spiritual responsibility.
Yeah, and I think this. Paul gives us the blueprint for this in Ephesians 5. Where he talks about, wives, be submissive to your husbands as you do to the Lord. But, he talks about husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. So it's a sacrificial headship within a marriage. But you're right, it has to come from a very deep place spiritually. If a husband and father and head of a household is not leading on his knees, then he's in the wrong posture, So I couldn't agree with you more. Joe, do you have any other thoughts on anything that we've said?
You're okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, good contribution to the discussion. 833-288-3986. Before we go to Amy, I want to mention something here very important, and that is You can get EWTN Mass and email in your inbox. Visit EWTN.com, click on subscribe, and you'll get a reminder about the Mass every morning at 8 a.m. here on EWTN Radio, the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel. Again, just visit EWTN.com, click on subscribe, and you'll be reminded about the Mass every day here from EWTN.
So I wanted to share, there's CatholicCounselors.com. That's Dr. Greg and Lisa Popchak's wonderful organization for resources and help out there. We also do life coaching. There's others that help with marriages as well. I mean, there's resources and there's tools and there's programs, Marriage Encounter, Retrovi, to help marriages. The one thing I would just say is sometimes we try to therapize each other, and that's not the best way to do that, Jerry, is to try and fix things in the marriage when you're in the middle of the crisis. There's help out there, guys, and really we really need that support around us, especially when the demons are trying to attack and destroy marriages and families. We know that. We've seen it now for many, many, many years. So please don't hesitate. Get some help, and you'll see you can have a much better relationship.
Okay, Amy is listening in New Hampshire, a first-time caller to Take Two on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
I was calling to give hope for the people, men or women, who are married to someone, a soul who's suffering from addiction. I have been in a marriage like this for over 25 years, and I remembered that I made a vow with God, three for a marriage, and so I worked on myself with the faith, get involved with a priest, because there is a chance that this person is not going to heal all the way. What you see is you have someone that you and we're human, so we have our memories building. Now you have a sober person watching a person over time. At first it's okay, but addiction takes from people. It harms people. They become different. There are more impediments to their growth and development as a human. So even if the person 25, 26 years down the road begins to heal, the one who's been sober, the work doesn't stop then, because now you've got your memories that you're looking at this person who may not even have the same memories, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So reach out, get help, get involved with your parish, I think subsidiary, it's great to have Catholic counselors. I've used them myself, but it's really good to have your priest, your local priest, that can help you, because it's a lonely road. I've been surrounded by Catholics, but nonetheless, there is something that you were meant to get when you joined in a union like that, and with someone who's suffering in this way, you're not going to get that, and there is going to be. I've often laughed and it's like being in a convent without being in a convent. It's very lonely. I don't think that they're lonely, but it's lonely in many ways that can't be rectified.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Your situation, Amy, sounds like it's really right down the middle of what we're talking about here on the program today. And you mentioned so many important things. God bless you also, like so many of the other callers, for hanging in there. You mentioned, you made a vow before God, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes because of severe situations, couples really can't stay together, but it sounds like, you've been able to stay together with your husband. That's good. You mentioned 25 years. You mentioned the 3 to get married. And the work you've been doing on yourself, I think, has been very, very important. I'm sure it's paid off. I'm sure it's been very, very helpful. And we just pray that will continue. Debbie, I don't know if you got any comments you wanted to add, but.
Well, I just think my heart goes out to you and everyone else that's in a similar situation, because you've been through a tough road, and you're staying focused on God, and you are doing the hard work. Because what you're doing is you're taking your vows seriously. You're taking your commitment to the Lord, the covenant with our Lord, seriously. And it's not. I mean, everybody thinks that when we focus on what the bigger picture and we focus on God, it's going to be an easy road. It's not. It's not, but you are staying focused. And I just say, Amy, way to go, because that takes a lot of effort. And I just can only imagine that God is pleased with your dedication and your faithfulness.
Oh, thank you. I have a lot of graces. He gives me a lot of consolation. But there are some things, I think of St. Paul, there are just some things that he does not take away yet. And so I just, anybody out there listening who's in the same boat, I pray for you. And there are people out there who, of course, if it's really bad, you have to leave. Mm-hmm. But sure. If you can stay, you can use it for God. You can work on yourself. You can get closer to Him, to God.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Amy, we're getting comments coming in pretty fast from the Take Two family. Kathy and the others just said, I love this lady. That's what Kathy just said. So you got a lot of love around you, Amy.
That's good, because I don't often ask for, I don't really, sometimes I just kind of march and like, okay, God, I'll go. But it's nice to hear humans say go, because that's, body of Christ.
Exactly. And that's what the Take Two family is all about. We jump into action and really want to be an active part of the body of Christ, to support each other and to keep each other afloat. Way to go, Amy. Thank you so much for calling in. You were a first-time caller, but hopefully you'll check in again with us. Thank you. Jerry, to finish the discussion, James has been waiting so patiently in Pensacola, Florida on Guadalupe Radio Network. James, we only have about 2 minutes. We wanted to squeeze you in to finish this conversation. Take it away.
Okay. All right. What I wanted to share, with you about, being married and single. I'm going to make this very short. It's hard when you have to be in a previous marriage and get an annulment. But I did this for 2 years. I was married in 1979, and I was married to my first wife. My last wife, over 21 years. And then in 2008, I met my present wife, Judy, and we've been married 15 years. And out of the 15 years, we had to do away with the sacraments for a whole 2 years. And then in 2010, we were married in the church. And I just wanted to share with the people out there that if you hang in there with the Lord, you're going to be blessed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a beautiful message.
Beautiful.
Yeah, hang in there with the Lord. And, like you mentioned earlier in the show, Debbie, God doesn't promise to take away our suffering. He promises to be with us in that suffering.
That's right.
And I've heard marriage, James and Debbie, I've heard it called a great saint-making machine. One of the main goal for spouses is to get each other to heaven. And how does any of us get to heaven but by carrying our cross? So really, in whatever vocation in life God leads us to, there is going to be the cross in that, but there's that's where our peace is. That's where God's will is for our lives. And that's where that's where His help is going to be, is in when we pick up that cross and carry that and do the work, especially within the sacrament of matrimony.
Mm-hmm. A saint-making machine. I love that.
Machine, yeah.
I love it. James, thank you so much. We're so glad you got to close the discussion today on married but living as singles. We learned a lot today. We're getting just a ton of responses coming in from the Take Two family. Jerry, they really appreciated this discussion. So we're going to put it on the calendar again for this year, and we'll take different angles on it like we always do. There is a method to our madness here, and that is that we're trying to approach these topics, these very hard topics, in all different ways so that we can get a good understanding, a solid understanding, and we walk away a little bit changed, a little bit closer to God.
Yeah, Mary was watching on YouTube today. She says, I think this is a very good topic, but it also depends on your age. My husband and I are in our early 70s. As we age, our marriage is more like roommates, but very loving and deep. We both have health issues, mainly with our backs. I am more religious, and that causes some loneliness for me, but because of our love for each other, we cope. So, Mary, thank you for that contribution to our discussion, watching the video stream on YouTube today.
Yeah, beautiful. We want to thank our show team. Matt, you did a great job on the phones. Charles, our producer, way to go. And Michael McCall on social media. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about, we want to ask you tell us about your favorite pope. Do you have a favorite pope and why? We'd like to know. Right, Jer?
Yeah, that may have been one that you experienced as the Holy Father during your lifetime, or maybe in your study of church history, you've come across a pope that really, you really were fond of. So, yeah, tomorrow tell us who your favorite pope is or was, and join us then. Again, we want to thank the affiliates and the show team for all of their great efforts here, and Take Two family, you did it again. We will talk to you tomorrow. St. Colette of Corby, please pray for us. When you find yourself peering into life's rearview mirror,